Fishing ribbon cutting here without a hitch. Also met a caterer, Jim Adamus. I called him Adonis just because it sounded fun. And then heading back to the office, getting some work done. Left with a nice goodie bag though. That was kind of nice. Hope you're all doing well. Sharps out. What if every experience that we had is really just meant to be for our experience? So whether it's good or bad, the whole point is for you to experience something. So let's say you unfortunately went through a loss of love, and the whole point of that was to deal with having that emotion, having that heartbreak, having to deal with rebuilding your life emotionally. On the other token, let's say, for example, you did really well and you had a nice promotion and doing very well financially, and that itself is an experience where you have to deal with having wealth and deploying it in a way that's meaningful and not just trying to fill your coffers, trying to have as much stuff as possible. Again, an experience. And I think when we start viewing our life, instead of it being necessarily a plus or minus and just saying, this is what I'm going through, good or bad, at the moment right now it might feel bad, but in the long run, it might actually turn out for our good. What do you think? Sherm's out. Hey there, everybody. So there's a lot of assessments that you'll go through throughout your career or life, and one of them talks about how you start with like this vision, then mission statement, values, and then you run down and you start talking about, okay, what you enjoy doing. And so in my mind, I think for a lot of people, it's hard to start right here and then start projecting out this very broad vision, legacy, why, or purpose for a lot of people. And so what I'm gonna do is reverse engineer that. So just flip it around and start at the very end. And so I got this from somebody that sent me some developing your career kind of track. And so where it ends off is, what do you think that your strengths are? What are you really good at? And then at the same time, in those strengths, what do you enjoy doing? Are you more of an organizer? You're more of an analytical person looking at data? Are you more of a people person? And then taking that and then looking at your weaknesses and saying, what do I want to work on? Most importantly, start there. And once you start putting down these different bullet points of tasks that, specific tasks that you think you're really strong on, you can start identifying, am I really strong on my soft skills, the personal relationships, the getting to know individuals, empathy, and you can really start diving into that. Or are you more on the exact opposite spectrum, which is more the analytics, more on the business side, more of the calculator, trying to devise different things? Or do you kind of play in your strengths on both sides of the fence? And then ultimately though, is you start identifying, what do you enjoy doing? That might be a little bit different than what you're currently doing right now professionally. And then if you look at some of the weaknesses, the areas that you want to improve in. So for example, I am not a detailed individual. And so there's no desire for me to want to get better at that. Now, of course, I need to compensate for it, right? You either hire staff or you look at, being able to make sure that you get those tasks done. But it's nothing that I don't lose sleep over it. I don't beat myself up over it. I don't worry that, so-and-so is better at me than it. There's a ton of people that are better at me than that. And so I focus in on my strengths, and I want to make sure that my core time is spent with dealing with my strengths on a continual basis throughout the day, whether that's and that's personal and professional life. And so as I start identifying these different things that I enjoy doing, now I can start going backwards then to what are the themes that make up those different tasks? Sherm's out. So once you've identified your strengths and your weaknesses, and ultimately the things you enjoy doing and the things that you don't enjoy doing, then you can start identifying specific themes. And those themes, you can start then building out values and saying, okay, now we're working backwards and saying, these are the big kind of picture things I enjoy doing. So you'll find that people that work in customer service then typically actually enjoy people. So their soft skills are really strong. It could be that their communication skills are strong. It could be that they have high levels of empathy, they have positivity, they enjoy working in a team. If you're more analytical then, and a little more on the organizational side, you're focused more on process. You might be able to have the ability to just understand data and put it together and analyze it in a way that's simple and easier for people to understand. And so those values start building out as you start creating different themes on what's happening in your world. So what values do you have? And when you start identifying those values, that makes it a lot easier then to go backwards into like a mission statement of what you like to stand for, what gives you enjoyment. And so let's go to that part. All right, so now that you've identified your strengths and your weaknesses and what you feel that you enjoy doing, then you want to be able to, and you probably saw some things in there. What are some values that you really stand for, that you know, if it's morality, if it's, driving after something, if it's more of a pioneer, like you're more of an exploratory person, you like to work on something that's new and vibrant, then you start really identifying those values, and you can then pull that backwards into a couple things. One, you can set goals, and number two is that you can create a vision statement or a mission statement or like a purpose statement. And I don't think that your purpose, though, has to bleed into every single aspect of your life. Although as you start getting to know yourself much better about what you enjoy doing, you'll find that your talents and time is best spent where you really enjoy doing those different things. And just because you love, certain aspects doesn't mean it's still going to be work. Work is still required. The question is, do you love that work? And I think for a lot of people, they don't necessarily love the work and they don't necessarily love working either. And so I think you need to be able to figure out how can you enjoy work to a point that it's at least tolerable. And then eventually you might be able to find a role or a position or a company where you actually enjoy coming into the office. You enjoy the people that you associate with. And even though it is work and even though it is somewhat stressful, you still feel a value and you still feel invigorated by what you're doing. So when it comes to creating of your why, of your purpose, of your mission statement, you want to avoid getting hard into specifics, because it really should be a guide of what really holds you together from a professional perspective and potentially personally. So for example, my why is to leave a legacy by positively impacting people. And that theme can go to personal and to professional. And as I look at different roles, that's typically why I gravitate towards more leading, developing, training kind of roles, because that's who I am. If I kind of walk backwards though, start at the strengths, kind of where we started at, I'm taking these from Clifton Strengths or Discover Your Strengths, includer, activator, win others over, positivity, strategic. Those are my core strengths. And so if you look at the things that I really enjoy doing, I love public speaking, I love talking to people, I love talking to strangers, love networking, love getting to know people, really enjoy having strategic conversations with people, employees, business owners, about if they're employees, where they want to take their career, what they're trying to do to professionally get better. If they're business owners, where they want to take their business. I really enjoy those conversations. And so then where does that then take me? I'm definitely someone that totally embraces change. I love including people in that team capacity. Typically though, I like to be more in that leadership role. And then so as I look at the why, leaving an impact of positivity, that's really because it sits at home with who I am. I'm including others in this positive mindset. At the same time, I'm trying to be strategic at how they can get theirs, because just because that's my why and that's my purpose doesn't mean it's the same for everybody else. And so for you, as you think about how you can make this overarching theme of what you want in your life, you can start identifying what kind of character do you want to become. It's not about the attaining of things or positions or titles. It's about creating the individual you want to see in yourself. Now, let's have another conversation about goals. Those of you who've been through like some kind of goal setting format are familiar with the acronym SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, relevant, and then time frame. And for me, I don't like SMART goals. I think it's just garbage. I like that you write down goals. I think it's important for you. At the same time, I think we overestimate what can get done in a year or what can get done in a month or a week, and then we completely underestimate what we can do in 5. And so there's a very much this yin and yang about going with urgency, getting things done as quickly as possible, having passion for right now, the urgency of the things, sprinting. At the same time, there's this need to be able to relax and allow life to happen by being patient and allowing time to take its course. And so I think about a lot of people, they struggle with this yin and yang because they're so focused on the result, they're not enjoying the journey. When you enjoy what you're doing in life, then you know the eventual outcome will occur. So for example, if you go to college and it's a 4-year degree, there's certain number of credits that you have to take in order to graduate. Then you know that by taking, let's say, 12 credits every single, let's say 16 every single semester, 2 semesters a year, you're going to graduate in 4 years. So if you want to do that slower, then you take 12, and now all of a sudden it takes you, 5 years to graduate. If you want to do it faster, you take 18 or 24, whatever the maximum is that your school will allow you to take. You'll do summer school to be able to hammer out some more courses. But you know that by slowly doing those courses, passing those classes, and by the way, C's pass, C's get degrees. And so what happens is you eventually then in the outcome have a degree. So there's no point in like getting all frustrated with yourself if you know the path is going to take a certain level of time. It reminds you of the person that like wants to be a doctor today and they haven't been to undergraduate school yet. They haven't taken the MCAT. They haven't gone into graduate school to become an MD. They haven't even passed the boards. They haven't sat down for their residency, done a fellowship, or anything along those lines. They don't know what type of doctor they even want to be. So to put a SMART goal for that high school student would be silly, because there's a lot of steps that need to be taken in order for them just to be able to get to be ready for that next step. And so I think for a lot of times for people, yes, we want specific goals. You should have specific goals, but then look at what can you be doing right now? What is the steps? What's the how? The strategy of you getting where you want to go is far more important a lot of times than actually where you're going. Because if, let's say, for example, we use about like health and fitness, if I focus on then reducing my caloric intake, I reduce about getting rid of alcohol, getting rid of empty calories, right? Sodas, and I focus on water and fruits and veggies and meat and getting rid of carbs, then what's going to happen, even if I don't even exercise, if I focus on what's coming in, then I'm going to automatically start getting myself in better health. Now, of course, if you're already like super healthy on the intake, but your activity is really low, then you know that the moment that you decide to go for a walk instead of watching another episode on Netflix, then you're going to get healthy, because activity of any sort is greater than sitting down on the couch, or sitting down or laying down, I guess. I don't know how people are watching TV these days. Yourself. For me, I sit on the couch, or on the ground. So then what happens is, for a lot of people, they can understand that mentality that, okay, maybe I can lose 50 pounds in a year. Maybe I can lose 50 pounds in 10 years. And so if I'm building habits for success, that's far more important than the end result. Yes, we could all hack and starve ourselves, or go get liposuction, or go get a tummy tuck or whatever, gastric bypass. You can all do things to hack, to shortcut the process. The question, though, that we have to ask ourselves is, do we have the discipline that's required to make that long term, to make that so that's going to last us a lifetime? Because having the habits of success is far more important than the actual end result, because it's about the quality of our character, who we are, not the actual end result. And so I would encourage you, as you think about what it is that you're doing from a goal perspective, have it be focused on what you can do to get there versus getting there. And I find for a lot of people, emotionally, psychologically, they're going to enjoy the journey much more if they focus on those habits versus the end result. What do you think? Sherm's out.